wanted to quickly talk about the movie, The Odyssey. I watched it a couple of times actually, once with my boys and once with a friend of mine. And it's a great movie. I highly recommend everybody to watch it. Um, I'm not going to go into the details of the story too much, but basically the story is about Odysseus, the king, who victoriously is victorious at Troy. You guys know about the Trojan War, and then once the victory, once he's victorious there, he goes on the sea expedition, just to. It's almost like a wandering in the sea, and it turns out he has many adventures in that wandering, and finally he ends up going back to his kingdom at Ithaca. So that's kind of the gist of the movie. Obviously, he's got the love of his life in Ithaca, supposedly. We'll talk more about that in the end. But there are some notable scenes I want to mention. I really think there's a scene where, Troy is being stormed. You have the Trojan War, the soldiers dropping out of it. They're opening the gates, and once they open the gates, the Ithaca, the warriors of Ithaca are coming in through the gate, the main gate. And in that scene, there's really this commander in chief, a gunman. He's got a mask on, and he just kind of stands there with what Gen Alpha would call a lot of aura, and this almost is like the signifier of death, as Lacan would call it. Basically, it's meaningless. It's masked. It's dark. It's black. It's death itself. Nobody now knows why it happens, but it's a certainty for all of us. It does not discriminate. You could be the best warrior ever, but you're still going to get killed. So that's a very notable scene. You have to watch that one where they storm the gates, and you get to see this masked man just standing there, and then there's all this armies of warriors pouring in, storming the whole place, and he's just standing there staring at them. Of course, he's masked, and he looks like this big guy, like death itself, with so much aura. Okay, so then we some notable other scenes and some takeaways for me. Uh, the sirens. So Odysseus is passing through the island, sort of like it, almost like a cliff island of cliffs, um, and there are many sort of mermaids. Looking creatures who are singing. Apparently, if you hear their song, you feel like you want to go to them, and you end up getting killed. Which is so Odysseus's way of experiencing that is he wants his folks to tie him to the mast of the ship, and then all the oarsmen and all the crew have wax in their ears so they cannot hear the siren sing. The as they go through that, the sirens are singing. You never hear them in the movie, but there's like some background music and there's like some narrative going on. Really, it sort of reminds us of memories of psychic disturbances in our lives. The love that we have lost, relationships where we cannot go back in time and say or do the right things, painful breakups, perhaps loss of death, death, loss of loved ones through death, um, friendships, so many different things, being shut out of second chances. Really, the only way out of all this, as Lacan would say, would be violence, and the violence towards oneself. You sort of have to tie yourself to the mast or put like hot wax in your ears to deafen them, to be able to get through this. If you think about some of the painful breakups you may have been through, or any sort of pain you've experienced, you've kind of been tied to the bed. You've been almost like Odysseus tied to the bed, and in a way, it's painful to get up. It's painful to stay in, but you're right there. You just cannot leave, and you don't know if you're going to fall asleep. You don't know if it's better that you get out of bed and do something, but you're laying there. That's literally the experience of being tied to the mast. That's how I think about it. We really also need to extricate ourselves. It's the process of extrication from where something is leaving us, and it's an extreme psychic disturbance. I'm also reminded of the scene in Rambo, First Blood, not Rambo, but First Blood, where um, John Rambo is taking, the sharpnel out of his, you know, um, arms, and basically it's a way. Basically, he's trying to get that out. Same thing happens in Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men, where he gets shot and then he has to take that out of. He kind of has to does he does surgery on himself to take it out. These are some ways to extricate ourselves. Also, the second notable point about masculinity, men often forget that we have a call of the wild. We need our expeditions. We need our time with other men away from women. We really need some missions we should have, that are giving us these expeditions. We just cannot be like basking in the glory of victories and remain in it. Um, I'm also reminded of, I recently went to the ACDC concert, and I was just thinking about Angus Young, 71-year-old Angus Young playing. If you guys ever get a chance, watch him. He just gives everything he's got. Like, it's almost like, is he going to die? That's how, like, he's short dude, very scrawny looking, at 71. And he is almost like, is he going to fall or something? Like, that's the feeling you get. But he's just moving around, running, and playing the guitar, just giving everything he's got, like almost like ready to die on stage. That's the experience I got. Like, it's almost like we need that expedition where we are doing something that is dangerous and potentially could take our lives, but yet we've mastered it. That's what an expedition is. It's an expedition where you're taking small steps, mastering portions of the expedition, and then you can take big steps. I always think, like, you never hear from men when they have a girlfriend or they're in a relationships. They always come to you when they have a breakup. Why is that? Why do we orient our lives around women and just women? Like, not that it's a bad thing. Like, obviously, we all can get along and live together. There's nothing wrong with that. But I just think, like, why is that we don't, as men, seek um, expeditions and being with other men and doing whatever happened to camaraderie and things like that. So I thought that was a great thing in this movie, showing that masculinity part of it. Showing that we don't have to stagnate, that we don't have to give up the spirit of our masculinity. Okay, the last one is a little more psychoanalytic, I would say. Lacan had this maxim: "There is no sexual relationship," is how he put it. So this is so true. Although the movie watcher gets the impression that Odysseus is finally united with Penelope, the love of his life, um, what we tend to do is we conveniently forget that the majority of their lives were lived in separation. It took 20 years for Odysseus to complete the expedition. Little do we think about it as a great love story, like, oh my God, this king he goes out on this adventure, and then he comes back to his queen, and they're back together. But the majority of the time, they were not together. They were not having great sex and great relationships, living together, conjugal life, or with creaturely love, as Jim Harrison would put it. So, majority of Odysseus' life was spent with Calypso. There are lots of memes, obviously, where he's partying with Calypso, but then he's got a wife at home. So it's sort of like, not that it's to that extent, but the truth of the matter is, we think about Odysseus as a love story, um, the Odyssey as a love story, but it's actually sort of like lives lived in separation, and it's more about the expedition and the adventures of life. This is what makes it an impossibility that to have sort of these sort of relationships, and that's what that Lacan would say. That impossibility is what gives it the construction or the illusion of possibility. So it's sort of like an object petit a, where we stumble upon the impossibility, and that gives us the desire to pursue the possible. So just it's very counterintuitive, obviously, but is there a way to keep that tension? I think there is to have a successful relationship. The way to do that might be, you know, not living together, perhaps, you know, seeking some expedition, seeking some outside um, ways of adventures, and pursuing your adventures and being continuing to pursue what you're good at and so on. So I just thought that was interesting. So three main takeaways for me: the sirens, the masculinity, expedition, adventure side of the house, and then the impossibility of sexual relationship, aka Lacan's maxim. I enjoyed the movie. I really would recommend everybody to watch it. And thanks for being with me on this life. Bye.